So inclusive practice in yoga is all about accepting everyone as they are now, as they are today, about not trying to change that, about supporting and developing people in their practice through giving options, through never shaming someone. And this might all sound really obvious and really basic, but a lot of yoga teachers, a lot of teachers of all different kinds don't get this. So on one side it's beholden on the teacher to have some things in place to ensure that they are a supportive, inclusive teacher, and on the student it's also helpful to have some ideas which they can put into practice in class rather than feeling bad about themselves, to know that it's okay to be who you are right now. So for me, it's really important to say that this is not just about being in a larger body. You need inclusive options if you're in a large body, a smaller body, if you have short hamstrings, long hamstrings, if you're hypermobile, if you're really tight, if you have dodgy shoulder, if you have, hips that are not very mobile. There's all kinds of stuff that can mean you need an inclusive practice. Everyone should have an inclusive practice. And it's also important to remember that being able to do a posture in an asana class does not mean you are achieving it any more than someone who is doing it in a different way, because key points with yoga that we want to be focusing on are the interoception, so how it feels inside of us, and the proprioception, so the awareness of our body in space, how it feels internally and how it looks externally, as in, do we know that our arm is aligned, or is it perhaps down here where it should be there? We need to be able to know in our minds where things are, and that takes time to develop. Let's start with sitting cross-legged, and this might sound really simple, but actually it's very challenging for a lot of people. If you have mobile hips, which I do, in fact mine are hypermobile, this is comfortable. For some people, sitting in lotus, which is where you take your foot, you bring it up here, and then you take the other foot and bring it up there, is also comfortable. Not something that I can do. But for others of us, perhaps who are sitting like this, their knees don't come down any further. So what can we do? Well, you could sit on your heels. Sitting on heels comes with its own challenges. What it is really good for is helping to work into the tight muscles along the top of the foot. But if that's not for you, you can take a bolster and you can straddle it. So that's a little bit of support for sitting on. Or perhaps you might need two. It's important to remember that there is no right way of doing this. It's all about what's comfortable for you. So you need to support your body with all different kinds of practice. So here, then, we can look at some seated postures, some of the common seated postures. What's quite common when we look at postures where perhaps we have our legs out in front of us is teachers will say, bring your feet together. And then most of the class will, and you'll be like, I can't. This, for me, this is as close I can get. And I'm already really forcing it. So work with what you feel comfortable doing. Flex the feet. Use the energy. Ground down through the sit bones. And then look at the other bits, what's going on here. So knees. A really common thing with this posture is we lock. You might not be able to see. I'll pull up my trousers. that I lock. I hyperextend. So, to protect the knees, we can take a mat, we can bring it under the knees, and then you've got a little bit of space. All of this is about bringing the mat to you. And then you may have noticed I have very short arms, so they do not touch the floor. So what I might want to do here is use a yoga block or a book or whatever you've got at home, and I'll bring the mat to me, or the floor to me, or whatever I'm sitting on. So now my arms don't have to try and get to the floor. I've got the mat, the floor, to me. So pressing out through the feet, pressing down through the hands, ensuring that the knees feel like they're supported. Taking a few breaths in this posture. And of course, you use as many or as few props as you want. It's your body. Only you know what that means. In a similar way, we need to support the body at all times. So if we're taking a posture such as this, which is called Badakanasana, which is butterfly or band angle posture. If we've got mobile hips, this is great, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're really looking after this area. I'm sort of just flopping here. This is easy, this is comfortable. And comfort is important, but it doesn't mean I'm actually doing any work. I'm doing any goodness for myself. I'm just sort of letting everything hang. So perhaps here, we want to support the knees. And already here you can see my spine is longer. I'm using the oppositional forces to press my feet together. And I can support my knees with my hands, or I can take them somewhere else because they're already being supported. And I'll breathe here. Think about grounding those sit bones again. Find that sort of middle ground of not being like this, not being all the way like this. Relaxing the face. So one of the things we might also want to look at, especially if we've got short arms, is how we reach the feet. So this might seem a bit insurmountable. And this is not just about short arms, this is also about short hamstrings, it's about length of torso. So it's really key to remember there are anatomical things that will prevent us from being able to do certain things, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not doing a posterior class. It just means your body is built that way. Whatever you're doing is the right thing. Rather than injuring yourself by trying to force something that isn't going to happen for you. So here, I can bend my knees to get closer, and then I can hold on, but I want to make sure I'm not taking it to the back. So another option might be a strap. Here you might want to take it round my feet, up to the balls, and press through the balls, holding on, not yanking, but holding on firmly, supporting the posture with the prop. And if you want to fall forwards, remembering that this may be about your body, it may be anatomical, maybe because you've got a belly. But we'll try and fall forwards. We don't want to fall forwards from the shoulders, we want to fall forwards from the hips. So here, think about moving from this area rather than this area. imagine there's a rope attached to your belly button that's drawing you down into the floor. And release. Come to one of the key things about yoga, especially in a larger body. There are things here which those who practiced yoga historically perhaps did not have, because yoga was, well, modern asana, modern physical posture practice was not made for people of all shapes and sizes. So we have to remember that these areas exist, and it's okay to touch them, to use them, to get them out of the way. We mustn't be afraid of our own bodies. So for instance, in a posture where we are trying to get past an area, so say we have our knee up, we can bring our belly to the side and move forward. This is more obvious in standing postures. If I don't bring my belly out, I'm already here. If I do bring my belly out, I'm already there. So make sure you're comfortable with your body. If I say take my legs wide, I might want to move my belly out the way. It's much easier with the belly to come forward in a posture like this if you're comfortable with touching it and getting it somewhere that gives you the option to move. We also want to think about using blocks or seats, cushions, whatever, to bring us further up. This can support the pelvis. So rather than the pelvis rocking loads forward or loads back, it helps us find that sort of place where it feels comfortable. And often we'll sit like this when we do meditation or similar practices where we're being still for quite long periods of time. But if you are going to sit on these, you need to make sure you're considering the knees whenever you take a posture. So whether that is using the mat to support under the knees, whether it's using the blocks to bring the mat closer to you, perhaps you need to turn it up higher here, or if you're taking a posture like this, where one leg's out, the other leg's in, you are supporting both sides because they need to be level. So there are some initial tips on inclusive practice, and I'll run through more specifics in coming videos.